Like the Toronto Blue Jays rumors about Shohei Ohtani, this can go different ways. We don't know if he will sign, we don't know if he won't sign, we don't know if he'll sign elsewhere, and all of our concerns could be placated with the snap of a finger by tomorrow if something happens and if he just decides to come back. Today we're talking about the Vancouver Canucks and how they have apparently lost leverage in what we thought was a foregone conclusion, an outcome we thought was an inevitability. Today we're talking about their defense core and talking about a guy that was a main target, or I guess is still a main target, for this organization. Former defenseman of the team, Ethan Bear. Now, if you've been following the videos we've made, we have made a ton of updates about the Canucks and their hunger, their desire to make themselves a better blue line. Patrik Allvin made trades for guys like Mark Friedman. He acquired Nikita Zadorov. In the offseason, he signed Ian Cole and Carlsson. These guys have all come in and have had varying degrees of success on this Canucks blue line. But the one name that everybody has still been tossing around there as an option for this team is that Ethan Bear. And for good reason, too. Everybody knows that Bear was pretty alright as a Canuck last year. Even though he had his moments where he wasn't the best guy out there, he would make a few bad plays once in a while. He did cough the puck up a few times too. But under a different defensive system and under a new coach, you could very well say that Ethan Bear has an opportunity to be better. Last year, he had 16 points in 61 games played for the Vancouver Canucks, and 8 games played for the Canadian World Gold Team. He got injured there, which is why he hasn't been playing up to this point. But even though he is working out in Kelowna, even though we've had all the rumors saying that the Vancouver Canucks would like to sign him and that he would like to come back to the Vancouver Canucks as well, we had ourselves some updates from Rick Dalibor as well as Chris Johnston that indicate just how much the game has changed. Let's start out with a tweet made by Chris Johnston, or not Chris Johnston himself. NHL Watcher tweeted this out, but it's about a Chris Johnston quote on Insider Trading from yesterday. He says, "The Washington Capitals are keenly interested in Ethan Bear. They're a team to watch. The Canucks, Leafs, Devils, and Penguins have all shown interest as well." Okay, now this is the first push of news where we've heard that there are multiple other teams going out there after Bear. That's not a surprise. Like, we all recognize Bear was a good defenseman last year and he could be a cheap acquisition, especially since he's coming off an injury. Look at Patrick Kane, that guy's cheap too. Not to say that Bear is Patrick Kane, but you get the idea, right? Injured guys, cheaper dollar amounts, whatever. Ethan Bear has been linked to pretty much only Vancouver in the past few weeks and months worth of speculation, so now we're starting to see more teams open themselves up and actually leave the door open for Ethan, which is all right, totally not surprising, but this is the shift in the market compared to where things were a week ago. Furthermore, you had yourselves a Donnie and Dolly segment from yesterday as well, where Dalibor says this: "1 week ago, I thought the Canucks were the front runners to sign Bear. I don't get that feeling anymore." To expand more so on this, we're going over onto an article published by Rob Williams on Daily Hive. Canucks have big-time interest in Ethan Bear, but they might get outbid. Report. Article is going to be linked in the description as well as the video from Donnie and Dolly, but in the piece, Rob goes out there and highlights each of the tidbits that we have. Ethan Bear is a free agent after the Canucks didn't tender him a qualifying offer following the offseason shoulder surgery. He's skating on his own in Kelowna, and he's nearly healthy enough to play. According to Czech's Rick Dalibor, his agents will be talking contracts with NHL teams next week. Speaking on the December 7th edition of Donnie and Dolly, Dalibor reported that 4 to 5 teams are interested in Bear, but that the Vancouver Canucks are one of the 3 teams that are showing big-time interest. Interested teams, this is actually an interesting thing, I didn't realize this was going to be the case, but they're going to be allowed to watch Bear skate in Kelowna, according to Elliot Friedman. So perhaps a trip to the BC interior is in the Canucks management's future. The article then talks about how the Vancouver Canucks may actually be vulnerable to a rival team outbidding them for Bear. Now, this is mostly due to the salary cap, because the Canucks have indeed put themselves in a stranglehold. Sure, they traded away Beauvillier, but they got Zadorov right after, and there are some cap savings they could be had with Carlsson being on the IR, not to mention the other names, Tucker Poolman is still a guy in this team, etc., etc. But there could be some sort of a concern when you acknowledge that some of these other teams just have a bit more cap space. Chris Johnston going out there and highlighting some of the extra contenders. If Washington is one of these teams that really wants wants to get Ethan Bear on their payroll, then hey, guess what? They have a lot more cap space than the Vancouver Canucks do. The Canucks have $2 million in LTIR space they could use, but the Capitals have $7 million. So if there's a team like Washington that's going to go out there and say, hey, Vancouver's offering you this, Ethan, we'll give you double that. We'll give you $2 million. We'll give you $2.5 million. Then the Vancouver Canucks are kind of crap out of luck, right? They are losing leverage in these conversations now that other teams are knocking on Bear's door and asking for his price. There is going to be a market for this guy, which is totally okay. Again, it's not a surprise. But now, if the Vancouver Canucks are not able to sign Ethan Bear, then honestly, I don't know how I'm going to be able to live with this decor for the next few months. I mean, Carson Soucy is projected to being out until the start of the new year, so that's going to be a long time until we have ourselves the fully formed decor of Hughes, Hronek, Myers, Zadorov, Cole, and Soucy. And that's not even to mention that you have to make sure everybody else stays healthy. Like, we're one injury away from the rest of this decor to having so much more emphasis and playing time attributed to guys like Juleson and Friedman every night. Not that these guys are the worst things in the world, it's just these are not guys that will help you win playoff series. They are fringe AHL top pair, borderline NHL defensemen who can fill out a complementary role when they're called upon, but shouldn't be your main guys. Ethan Bear coming back to this Vancouver Canucks team would add another layer of stability. And sure, he is no Quinn Hughes, he is no top pairing defenseman, but he is a better option than all the other fringe guys that the Vancouver Canucks have at their disposal. So if they end up losing out on that, that's a pretty big hit, especially since Soucy is already out too. You would have to hope that the Canucks can survive until Soucy returns, and that they're able to get their groove back when Soucy is in the lineup in order for this team to have a chance to be one of the better decors heading into the postseason. And I'm going to say that because, I mean, look, the Canucks are top 3 right now in the Pacific. They're looking pretty good to lock down a playoff spot. Of course, knock on wood, nothing bad happens, and they end up falling out and inevitably missing out, but hey, this is a realistic outcome for this team now, so you have to start projecting what assets help you out the most by the time the postseason comes and goes. So for Vancouver, I mean, thinking about these other teams, of course, Toronto might not be in the best position to leverage money. The Devils, you could say, could be making a move with Dougie Hamilton on the IR. You've got Pittsburgh that is also struggling to get things done, but they don't have any cap space either. So we'll see where exactly these teams go in the conversation for Ethan Bear. But it's apparent right now that the Vancouver Canucks are starting to lose their hold. They're starting to lose leverage, and I'm not too sure how I feel about that. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Vancouver Canucks and Ethan Bear. I know we've talked about Bear a bunch the past few weeks, but let me know your thoughts as to how you think he could affect this team. What are your thoughts on the dollar amount that he should be signed to? And how big of a deal is it, in your opinion, if a team like Washington goes out there and swoops Bear up because they're able to pay him double what Vancouver could pay him? Do you think it's the biggest loss in the world? Do you think there is a better option out there the Vancouver Canucks could explore instead? Would you rather say, hey, I'd rather give the ice time to Akito Hirose? Why get another guy? Cole McWard is on this team. If you want a right-handed player, why don't you go out there and get some of these extra players to give him more time? More time in the NHL to develop and become better. Do you think it's more important to give development time rather than guaranteed results? Let me know your thoughts as to where your philosophies lie with Bear and the Vancouver Canucks. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.